This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to Chapter 2 of our series, Mastering Lab Techniques Safely. In this episode, titled The Art of Precision, Measuring and Pipetting, we'll explore the essential skills of using pipettes for accurate liquid handling. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, there's something here for everyone to enhance their technique. Let's dive in. The tiniest mistake in your hand can erase an entire week of experiments. A slight tilt, a rushed release, a thumb pressed just a bit too hard. None of it looks dramatic, but under the hood, those invisible slips can quietly rewrite your data's story. Some of the most boring moves in the lab are secretly the most powerful. Sliding a tip onto a pipette. Pausing an extra heartbeat before you lift from the reservoir. Letting your sample and tips sit on the bench until they're truly at room temperature. These tiny choices don't look like skill, they look like habits, but they quietly decide whether your numbers mean something, or just look like they do. Modern pipettes are engineered to be astonishingly precise, yet they still whisper back every flaw in our muscle memory. Plunger too fast, angle slightly off, grip too loose. Over time, these whispers add up. In a busy lab, that can mean two people doing the same protocol are effectively running different experiments. In this episode, we'll zoom in on those hidden moves, how you hold, pause, pre-wet, and calibrate so your hands stop guessing and start measuring. Think of this as learning a new language, the language of volume. Every tiny movement, plunger speed, hand stability, angle, forms its own accent that your assays can hear, even if you can't. Today's instruments can hit errors below 1%, but real plates and tubes don't see specks, they see how you actually move. That's why two people with identical pipettes can still get conflicting curves or shaky standard lines. In this series, we'll map the parts you can control, from matching tools to tasks, to reading subtle feedback from tips, menisci, and even the sound of the plunger. A good way to see your own technique clearly is to step back from use a pipette and break the motion into distinct phases. Not the basic ones you already know, but the subtle checkpoints that separate casual use from deliberate control. Start earlier than your thumb, at eye level with the volume setting. Are you actually dialing to the volume you intend, or to a rounded, close enough number? Many assays live or die on tiny differences. Those last few microliters are often where dose-response curves bend or fail. When you adjust, creep up slowly to the setting rather than spinning past and back. Backlash in the mechanism can shift the real volume slightly compared with what the window shows. Next, look at how you attach the tip. Instead of a single jab into the box, try a gentle vertical press and a small twist. That twist helps seal micro gaps between cone and plastic that otherwise act like hidden vents. If you ever see tiny air bubbles appearing in the tip right after you aspirate, especially with larger volumes, that's your cue the seal isn't perfect. During aspiration, your grip decides how stable your angle and depth will be. A relaxed, pencil-like hold often gives finer control than a fist grip. Drop the tip just below the surface. Deep plunges seem safer, but actually invite hydrostatic pressure differences and inconsistent fill. A quiet, unbroken surface around the tip is a visual clue that you're not drawing in extra turbulence with your sample. As the liquid rising, your eyes become sensors too. Train yourself to glance at the meniscus, not just trust the click. On transparent tips, consistent height for repeated transfers is a strong sign your movement is reproducible. On opaque tips, listen instead. The soft sip when you release the plunger should sound the same each time. Any gurgle or sudden silence suggests a change in speed or immersion. Dispensing is where impatience most often sneaks in. Rather than snapping to the end, ease into the stop and hold there for a brief, counted beat. 1, 2, before you slide up. That beat lets viscous or protein-rich solutions finish leaving the walls. If you're stepping across a microplate, Notice whether tiny droplets cling to the outside of the tip. That's a warning that your blowout or touch-off isn't consistent yet. Finally, watch the environment. Moving from a cold fridge directly to warm hands, or from a bustling bench to a laminar hood, shifts both temperature and airflow. Over a plate of nanoliter scale wells, even gentle drafts can nudge droplets sideways. The more you work at smaller scales, the more these background details stop being noise and start being part of your technique. Think about how small differences feel in other crafts. An experienced watercolor artist can see when a brush holds just a touch too much water, the paint blooms too far, the edge softens more than intended. In the lab, a barely heavier or lighter touch on your pipette shows up the same way, not as a disaster, but as a subtle drift in your standard curve or a control that's always slightly off. Concrete habits make this visible. Run a simple test. Pipette 10 100 microliter aliquots into a cooled weighboat, recording each mass. Don't change anything except one detail each round, your dominant versus non-dominant hand, or slow versus rushed plate filling. Patterns in the weights reveal which motions introduce the most spread. You can also shadow an experienced colleague. Watch how they set up a multi-dispense series, how they organize tubes, where they rest their elbow, how they line up with a plate. These aren't quirks, they're micro-stabilizers that make volumes repeatable even on busy days when you're tired, distracted, or under time pressure. A shift in precision changes what becomes possible. As liquid handling shrinks into nanoliter ranges, you're not just conserving reagents, you're opening doors to single-cell assays, dense combinatorial screens, and diagnostics that fit on a chip. Fine control today also prepares you to speak to smarter tools tomorrow. AI-guided pipettes, acoustic dispensers, even remote robots still rely on humans who understand what a well-behaved droplet should look and feel like. Over time, each careful transfer becomes a kind of personal handwriting, recognizable, consistent, and surprisingly revealing. Treat your bench like a quiet observatory. Watch how tiny changes ripple through controls, standards, and curves. Your challenge this week: pick one motion to refine, then track how its signature shows up in your next 3 runs. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!